The Ionian mode, also known as the major scale, is, in my opinion, the most important mode / scale in music, period. Every other mode or scale in music is referred from this scale in particular. So when you may hear people saying things such as flat sixth, flat seventh, flat third, they're referring to the major scale or the Ionian mode. So if someone said, for instance, flat seventh, that would mean that they're saying the seventh note within the scale is 1 fret lower, and that makes it a flat seventh. So therefore, I would say this is the most important scale to learn in music. And if you had to learn just one scale in music, I would say go for this one. Let's run over the shape of this first of all, show you how to play the shape, show you how I personally would practice it so that you can take that away, and then let's run over some theory for the scale. We're going to play this in the key of G major, and the main shape that I use for this is in the key of G, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret on the low E string, followed by exactly the same thing on the A string, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, followed by 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret on the D string, followed by exactly the same thing on the next string, 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret on the G string, followed by 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret on the B string, and followed by exactly the same thing on the high E string, 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret. Now, this scale defines the key that you're playing in if the song is in a major key. So this is in G major because the first note that we're playing of the scale / mode is a G. This is a G, this is a G, and this is a G, and then I go beyond it a little bit by including the high E and putting the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th note within the scale at the end of it. Now, the way I would personally practice this, and I would say a good way for you to go about doing it, is just when you're thinking of picking up the guitar, whether it be each day, every other day, or just as and when, just do this a few times before you start playing a song, just to get it ingrained into your muscle memory, and try and get the stretches as well. So instead of playing like this, try and keep the previous fingers down until you move to the next string so that you can get those big stretches in and work that as well. So the way I would do it is I might say I'm going to do 4 repeats. The first repeat I'm going to pick it, the next repeat I'm going to pick it again, then the next 2 repeats I'm going to do some random slides and some hammers in there maybe. And don't worry about mistakes as well, because you have to make mistakes to learn. So you learn from those mistakes, and also you'll notice as you do it more and more and more, you'll start making less mistakes. So mistakes aren't a bad thing. That's part of the learning process. However, if you do want it to feel easier and you want it to hurt less on your fingers, you just have to keep going with it and endure the pain. So I'll pick twice each way with it, and then I'll do some slides and hammers with it. And I would say practice it the same way. Pick your key. I'm going to pick the key of G major because this note is a G, so I'm going to start it here. And that's just a bit of a guide to how I'd practice it, and you can change it up each day. You can also play those notes in different orders to get it, to make it a bit more realistic towards like soloing maybe. So I could like maybe play the notes in a bit of a random order, as long as you're playing the notes. And so on, play about with it. Now let's get into a little bit of the theory. First thing is to find your key. It's really easy, but the important thing is to make sure it's the shape that you are memorizing, not the frets that you're memorizing. So what I mean by that is, in the key of G, we know it starts out 3, 5, 7, 3, 5, 7 on the first 2 strings. If you was playing it in another key, it wouldn't be those same frets, but the distance between the frets is always the same on every string. So the shape is the important part. That on that string, that on that string, that on that string, that on that string, that shape on that string, that shape on that string. It's always the same. To find the key that you want, all you do is refer to the low E string. So the E string goes in alphabetical order from E. We know E doesn't have a sharp and B doesn't have a sharp. So if we wanted the key of, say, F major, for instance, then the next note after E on that string would be F, because E doesn't have a sharp and F is the next note in the musical alphabet. The next note after that would be F sharp. So if I played the shape there, that'd be the key of F sharp major. If I moved it up by 1 more, that would be a G. So that would be the key of G major. If I moved it up by 1 more, that would be G sharp. So that would be the key of G sharp major. Now, G sharp is the last letter in the musical alphabet. So therefore, it restarts at the beginning at A. And if I played the shape there, that would be the key of A major, up by another one, key of A sharp major, up by another one, key of B major, up by another one, C major, because B doesn't have a sharp, up by another one, C sharp major, up by another one, D major, up by another one, D sharp major, and then you will land at this double dot on the guitar. And what that double dot means is that note is exactly the same as the open note of that string. It's just the next octave up, so it's just at a higher pitch, that's all. So, and the note before it was a D sharp, that's an E. We know that that string's tuned to E. Therefore, if I was playing in the key of E, I could play it there, I could play it lower down, and so on. So it's really easy to find your key. So if you were playing to a backing track, for instance, and it said that that backing track was in the key of B major, then all you have to do is find the B note here, and then use that Ionian mode or major scale and play over that backing track, and you'll notice that all of those notes work with that key. Now, a lot of the time when you find backing tracks, if something's in a major key, it will not actually say the word major. It'll just say key of B or key of A, key of G. If it, however, is in a minor key, it will say the word minor after it, and we'll get on to minor later on. The step sequence for the major scale or Ionian mode goes whole tone, semitone, whole tone, whole tone, whole tone, semitone. What that basically means is if I was playing it on one string, for instance, key of G again, so first note G, this is my root note. And then for the rest of the notes, if I wanted to see them on just one string or work them out from one string so that I can work them out on the other strings, I would start at the root, I would move up by a whole tone for the second note. I would move up by another whole tone for the third note. I would move up by semitone for the fourth note, that's 1 fret a semitone. I would move up by another whole tone for the fifth note, that's 2 frets a whole tone. I'll move up by another whole tone for the 6th note, 2 frets, and then I would move up by another whole tone for the 7th note, 2 frets, and then to get at the octave, so back to the G, but at the next octave up, I'll move up by another semitone, and that puts me back at the root. And all of those notes that are played on that one string, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G again, they're all the notes that we're playing when we're playing that shape, and we are playing them in that exact order. Finally, the major scale contains a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and a 7th note, and then you're back at the root note, the octave. And that's important to remember, because when we get onto the other modes very shortly, we're going to be referring to certain things such as flat notes and sharp notes, and basically that's referring to this Ionian mode or this major mode, saying compared to the major scale or the Ionian mode, that note, the 4th note that is in the Ionian mode, for instance, is sharp or is flat, and etc. Now, the key takeaway for this is just make sure that you've got that shape ingrained. So practice that on a regular basis. No matter what level you get to, don't ever stop practicing that scale, because that is the most important scale in music, in my opinion.